So let's begin with the extreme weather causing havoc in 2 states. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from cities and towns in northern New South Wales as well as southeast Queensland as unprecedented flooding from ex-tropical cyclone Debbie continues. Lismore has been transformed into a vast lake of muddy water, and water is continuing to cascade over the city's failing levee wall. Now, both the Lismore and the Murwillumbah airports are underwater, and across both towns, homes, business and vehicles have also been abandoned. Now, as you can see, the river peaks are expected to worsen with incoming high tides. Authorities have said that the Tweed River, Murwillumbah, as well as the Chinderah are the main areas of major concern. Our reporter, Jake Sturmer, joins us now from Chinderah. Jake, are there any indications as to when the peaks are expected?
Well, Salzia, right now we're in one of the peaks. The flood levels are in a major alert level around 2.3 metres, and they were hoping, and residents were hoping that it would be receding by now, but it's anything but. As you can see behind me, the water levels are well and truly inundating homes across Chinderah, and water levels in excess of 50 centimetres. And we've been speaking to the SES. They're saying that when the high tide returns around 11 o'clock this evening, it could go up a further 20 centimetres. You can see that car is already well and truly inundated. However, there have been some locals who've managed to get the prime parks. You can see those here, about 4 cars and a bus. They have so far survived and stayed dry, and the owners of it will certainly be hoping that continues throughout the night.
Jake, what sort of emergencies have the authorities have had to deal with?
And a whole range, Salzia, across the entire region. There have been a lot of swift water rescues, a lot of people who thought that this flood would not be as high as authorities were warning, and so that last night they got an evacuation order, decided that they wouldn't heat it, and then all of a sudden this morning were caught short, and the water certainly in this area has been far higher than anyone expected, and it rose far more than anyone expected. Now, this has all been addressed by the New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian today. Here's a little of what she had to say.
10,000 people are without power, and Assistant Commissioner has advised me that every effort is being made through other means of communication to advise people what's going on and also to provide them with the best and most recent safety advice. So we're urging everybody up there to apply the maximum amount of safety. The rivers are obviously at a peak situation now. Some people won't be returning to their homes for some time until it's safe, and the 2 main areas of concern are around the Tweed area and also in Lismore.
Obviously, that's a message that's been repeated by various authorities throughout the day. Do not go out into flood waters. Have you seen people heeding that warning, Jake?
Well, yes and no. We've seen a lot of people who've decided to try to walk through and walk out to safety, particularly earlier in the morning before the flood levels were as high as they are now. We've seen the odd people come out of their houses for a bit of a rubberneck and have a look around. That's something the authorities are very much cautioning against. But in terms of the SES's job, they're very tired. They've been here all day ferrying people. Their swift water rescue teams have been kept very busy ferrying people. We saw a caravan park earlier today that was completely inundated. A lot of elderly residents from there had to be taken out by the SES. One lady who had a prosthetic leg had to be taken out on a kayak by one of her neighbours because that was the only way to get her out quickly because the water was rising that fast.
Talk to us about the sort of damage that you've seen caused by the water and the winds and the rains, of course. How many homes and people have been affected?
Look, it's very hard to say at this stage because authorities haven't really been able to go in and assess the damage, but this area in Chinderah is no stranger to this kind of flooding, and so you can see the houses, most of them are built on stilts. Those who had the opportunity to put things onto their second level did We have seen a few floating fridges and some new kitchens downstairs that haven't quite made it, but largely in this area, residents are coping with it quite well. However, in Murwillumbah, further down the Tweed, they're seeing some significant damage, and people are having to be airlifted from the roofs. So there's no doubt there will be a lot of damage, and the damage bill will be significant from these floods. And the problem is, with 760 millimetres falling in the upper Tweed and middle Tweed catchments, that's all going to come through here. So certainly the residents here are not out of it either.
Still waiting for the peak to happen. Just one last question to Jake. Have the power and water supplies been affected?
In this area, yes, we've seen intermittent power. A lot of people have taken the precaution and just turned the power to their homes off, because with 50 to 70 centimetres of water on the ground floor, it's just not a risk they're taking. The street, the lighting, however, has remained on, so some people do have light power, but as for their power points, no. And that's something that you would generally expect the energy companies to take and turn off as a precaution. As it gets darker here, we'll get a sense of whether the street lights will turn on, but at this stage, no unexpected. The power is on. Is off. So whether that gets turned on, that's probably unlikely until the water very much recedes.
Jake Sturmer in Chinderah, thank you. Well, let's